I'm trying to the folks up north. I got a lot of followers, which we found that out over the last years. Got a lot of followers from up north in Canada, and they've been dealing with a lot of bullcrap surrounding the virus. Been in a tough situation there. It's like a police state. It is a police state. Let's call it what it is. And some of the authoritarian bullcrap that they have to deal with up there is insane. And we've obviously brought a lot of it to light based on what's happening, let's say, and what we've heard of happening, and people have tipped me on, obviously, and it happening in Canada when it comes to the virus and the government's authoritarianism. Now, Justin Trudeau, which is a very funny man as far as I'm concerned, was coming into conflict with the conservative, and the Conservative Party, just like hell in America, conservative folk up there are leftists, but they just aren't as left as I guess Trudeau is. And obviously, again, more people are talking about now. It's because it's acceptable. How did this happen? How did this virus get out? And I'm gonna play this video of Trudeau, and the reason why I think it's important to show it, it's not just what's going on in Canada and the guy they got, at least at the helm of running the show, but also these are the social justice types, and this is why they're fucking weirdos. Let's take a look real quick.
And the Prime Minister maybe does not realize this, is communist China cannot be trusted. I know he admires their basic dictatorship. I know he liked to do fundraisers with them over the years. I know he thought they were the first go-to for vaccines. But at this point, we would hope that he would learn a lesson and put the safety, security, and protection of Canadians above this fascination he has with the communist regime. So again, will he commit to ending this research and this cooperation with a regime that not only doesn't have our interest in mind, but actually wants to hurt Canada?
So what she's asking, obviously, is there's apparently a bunch of state-funded, which, I mean, again, this isn't new, cooperation with obviously the Canadians are in on it. Other countries are obviously as well, but it's in direct relation to the CCP. And okay, it's a very direct question, and all she's asking is will you stop funding this effort because you're seeing what's happening and what's being prioritized here? Listen to what Blackface had to say.
Honorable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, yes, from the beginning of my career onwards, I have worked with many Chinese Canadians and indeed had fundraisers with them. And the rise in anti-Asian racism we're seeing over the past number of months should be of concern to everyone. And
again, these are social justice advocates, and this is what I'm talking about, man. And that has nothing to do with what's being discussed right now. Nothing. She asks you about the relationship with the Chinese government. And this motherfucker goes on a tangent immediately goes on a tangent, deflecting from the statement being made, talking about Chinese Canadians and Chinese Canadian racism. Like, what that's nobody asked you about that, man. Nobody asked you about that.
I would recommend that the members of the Conservative Party, in their zeal to make personal attacks, not start to push too far into intolerance towards Canadians of diverse origins. We will.
Nobody said, like. Oh, blackface.
Continue to stand up to defend Canadians' interests, Canadians' security. We will continue to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep Canadians safe while participating in the global research community and stand up for tolerance and diversity.
Like, what the fuck does tolerance and diversity have to do with anything, Trudeau? What does that have to do with anything that you had just asked? Nothing. It has nothing to do with anything, man. Nothing. He goes on a tangent about freaking diversity and tolerance, man, when asked a direct question. Because, again, she prefaced it, to her credit, she prefaced it by saying, hey, these people may not have the best interests of our folk in mind. You work with these people. You fund some of these efforts, state funding of these efforts. Are you willing to kind of scale that back? He goes on a fucking tangent about diversity and tolerance, which has nothing to do with anything. See, guys, as I mentioned in Non-Playable, which is a song that you can go get from mixtape.ericdjuly.com. This is why we call these types NPCs, guys. This is why we call them NPCs. I know you look at it as something that's just a hilarious meme, and it is. But that in itself and what you just saw is the reason why we call them NPCs. Because they have a pre-programmed thing that they do or say. And if anything that they're asked of, or there's a specific topic that they're addressing, a specific notion, whatever it is, if it's mildly touching of that, then they have this programmed response. Okay? And they don't know how to really react outside of that. So it's a default. Is what I always call it. It's a default, bro. It's a thing that, like, when you hear people, for example, pull those cards and you'll be talking about something. I'm pretty sure you guys have conversed with folks on the internet, the Twitterverse, especially where all the stupid people are, and they'll pull a card of racism, diversity, and homophobia. Like, that's why we call them now. For you guys that don't seem to understand why we call them NPCs, that's why we call them that. Because they malfunction. They malfunction in the event that their feet is even remotely held to the fire. But that's their go-to. And unfortunately, to their credit, or the stupid people that are listening to them, it works, right? You got a lot of folks that are obsessed with those topics. Diversity and all tolerance. Like, man, bro, that ain't got nothing to do with it. What the fuck are you talking about, Trudeau? What are you talking about? He gets asked a direct question and immediately goes to, well, you can't be saying stuff like that. And I would encourage you not to really go too far because of diversity and tolerance. Like, what? Look, Canadians, man, I know y'all struggling out there, and I feel for you. We've been talking about you guys a lot on the show, but y'all keep y'all heads up, and definitely when you got a dickhead like Trudeau running the show, at least in some capacity, I know it can be very, very tough. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.